Good morning and welcome back. Welcome to this fourth day of Rapid here in Detroit, Michigan. It's a nice rainy morning this morning, but we're here ready to celebrate the show. And there's a number of different things that I think I want to see today that I haven't been able to take advantage of over the last couple of days. But kicking the day off today was Jim Woodcock from TCT and Maria Conrado from SME. So they really kicked off the event, really the fourth day of the program. So it was really interesting to kind of hear some of the trends that are going on. So they did continue to do this pretty cool Slido. It's called Slido, I think.
Nice.
App where they're pooling industry. It's something that we're very interested in doing at America Makes and have done some similar things like that. But the question from yesterday was around how people, or which industry is paced at making the most advancement or best utilizing additive manufacturing today. And it was almost a dead heat or deadlock tie between aerospace and medical, which is pretty interesting.
That is.
But oddly enough, the last place industry was automotive.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Automotive.
So that was actually only 4% of the folks here thought automotive was pacing ahead of anyone else or making the most advancements. So they actually have a day structured around automotive today. So that was pretty interesting. So again today we had a drawing for 3 Wohlers reports. So they gave away 3 more today. We actually have one here in the booth. Our membership director, Tiffany Westbay, is here at any point in time. We actually have a really interesting interactive display in our booth where you can think through what you could do to become a member of America Makes. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah. It's like make your membership.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a variety of ways that you can get engaged. So that was really cool. We transitioned then from just the initial introductions into some awards. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an exciting time today. The People's Choice Award, so when the attendees voted, was Desktop Metal, meaning that it was probably the most exciting or intriguing. I'm looking at it right now as we're talking, and it's so
amazing.
It's so intriguing because they've set it up so you have to go in and see it. So way to go, Desktop Metal. And then we also had the Exhibitor Innovation Award, and that winner was Digital Alloys, and they beat out the Rapida and from Formaloy. Formaloy. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. They said they've developed this technology called jewel printing.
Really?
So it might not be what you think. It's actually a wire-fed technology where they're able to do things at a relatively high pace. So it's something I would encourage anyone that's here today to make sure they check out all of the folks that were represented. The last award that was presented, and those awards, can't forget to mention this, were presented by 2 of our old friends and probably dearest friends at America Makes.
Yeah.
First and foremost, Dr. Jennifer Fielding, who was very active and had played a major part of putting together Rapid from a technical perspective this year. So herself and Zach Simpkin from Senval, Jennifer is from AFRL, so they actually presented the 3 different awards. The last award was for the poster session. So last night they held a poster session here in the exhibit hall, and there were 3 different organizations who were represented, or I guess received awards there. 2 of them were from Waterloo University, and the other one was from CMU. So that was interesting. So
that's exciting. And what's so interesting is not only this morning have you brought up Jennifer Fielding, but also automotive. And there was a really interesting panel discussion yesterday on women in 3D printing. So if you missed out, hopefully you'll be able to go and talk to Jennifer or Ellen Lee or Amy Anderson, who was part of those panels.
It was great. I got to see a bit of it. Ellen Lee from Ford was on there, and then kind of another major automotive organization presented the keynote today. So that was, for me, fascinating. I came from the automotive industry, so I spent about 10 years at General Motors. But it was very interesting to listen to the keynote from Dr. Dominic Reutzel, who talked through how BMW went on a journey with additive manufacturing over the last, really significantly over the last 10 years. They've been using the technology for decades, much like most of the automotive industry, but it's been used primarily for prototyping. one thing that I found interesting there was they've continued to mature or innovate the ways that they use prototyping and use the tools of additive manufacturing to create new designs. But there's some things that, probably he brought up that a number of folks, normal consumers don't really think about. So they currently have a number of components that you can purchase from them that can be individualized for your vehicle that are additively manufactured.
That's insane.
And the one case study that he showed was there's a panel that effectively goes on your dash near where your glove box would go, and seems relatively simple, And then he kind of talked through all of the challenges that they are faced with. You as a consumer expect certain things, and our automobiles are generally not inexpensive, and with that come pretty high expectations. And from safety, which is significant, so they showed how they do these impact tests. If you can imagine, a head impact in a crash, that you want that to interact or hold up appropriately.
Yes, sir.
And durability, and you expect that they last forever. So there's significant challenges that they're faced with. So it was really interesting to hear that. And probably the other major takeaway there for me was how they're using, how they're thinking about, or I guess considering throughput. So, obviously automotive is relatively high volume. They're currently using it for specialty components, but even at that, they're much higher volume than a lot of the things that we've seen in aerospace and defense.
Absolutely.
So with that, they're taking on challenges of how to integrate technologies, how to use automation. It was fascinating to listen to all of the various simulations that they use to determine where does all this, what we see here at Rapid make sense?
How's it incorporated?
And how, exactly.
Yeah.
How can they incorporate the technology into their production systems, and when should they, and how can they start to make steps so that they get to the point where more engineers understand it? So they talk quite a bit about education as well, which was fascinating. They're completely changing the type of engineer that they need to bring on board.
That's so intriguing.
And it seems like something that we've heard really over the days. I think the last thing I was hoping to cover here was, recently Aaron was promoted into a new role as the Director of Partnerships. So I don't know if you want to talk anything about just partnerships in general. We're partners with many of the folks.
Yes, we are.
One of our main partners is here right now, Terry Wohlers.
Welcome, Terry.
How you doing,
what
Aaron?
a nice
John?
surprise.
Congratulations on your
thank you.
elevation into the organization.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Yeah, we were just starting to talk about partnerships and how do we work with organizations here, but in with that, there's a lot of new technologies that we're seeing here. Obviously, you spend most of your days investigating what's going on. Can you talk any about new innovations or new companies maybe that you've seen here, or maybe weren't that familiar with, that brought some new equipment to the table?
I can cite a couple of examples. One is a company by the name of Velo 3D. Don't know a lot about them, but their claim is that they can reduce the need for support material on these metal parts. And typically, if the features of the part is 45 degrees or less off of a horizontal, that means you need these support structures, also referred to as anchors.
Yep.
And the difficulty with those, as many know, maybe some don't, is that it takes time to build the material, but then they have to be removed. And there's scrap and labor and so forth. So if you can reduce those to a minimum, that's good. So this company claims that they can reduce it down to 10 degrees and in some cases 0 support. So that's interesting. So we have our eyes on that. They've integrated the software and hardware as a bundle or a complete solution.
Are they currently offering systems?
They have systems in the field, yes,
Oh,
and we have the names of a couple of customers. We've had been so busy, just slammed with work, we haven't had a chance to talk with them, but we're looking forward to.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing that. We've interacted on the surface with them, but haven't really talked to them in detail.
And a second example is software. If you look at the history of computing, software has always been ahead of the hardware. So we've been able to do these incredible software tools, but we haven't had the compute power to do the number crunching You could do it, but it would take, go away for lunch or
too
overnight.
much time and money.
Especially the big analysis jobs. And now we're at a time in the area of additive manufacturing where the hardware is ahead of the software. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is we can print structures such as printed electronics or having, suppose you want a snap fit type box and you want the properties of the snap fit to be such that it'll operate thousands of times over. But the rest of the box you want to be rigid. Well, we can do that. We have hardware that can do that, but we don't really have software that can control that. And embedded features and color and all these things. So software is developing. One example, I was at the Altair exhibit yesterday, and we've been using that in our design for additive manufacturing courses. The software called Inspire, and it's all about topology optimization, which is really letting mathematics optimize the strength to weight ratio. And so what they've done is taken it to the next level where they've really streamlined the approach of getting to the optimized structure and then getting to a point where then you want to do heat analysis or stress analysis. Distortion modeling really is what it's doing. And that's now integrated in that same process flow. And also to optimize the support material, to keep that to a minimum. And so that's encouraging. It's not out yet, it's still in a test form, but it's great to see these tools become more integrated and the process flow to be easier than it was in the past. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was interesting. We just got done kind of talking a little bit through the keynote from this morning and the BMW talk. And
that was excellent.
It was fantastic. And it was really interesting to see how they're pulling together and how they incorporate digital tools and simulations, whether it's factory simulations or things like distortion, support structure. All of those pieces have to come together in order for someone like a BMW to take notice and, more importantly, implement it in a way that you see in a vehicle that you purchase at some point in time. So anything you're looking to take in today, or any big plans?
Yeah, it's difficult. The show has gotten so big, and
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's the scale, and I haven't seen maybe 25% of what I'd like to, and this is day 4. Well, day 3 of the exhibits, but I won't get it done. I mean, it's just
we were just talking about it. I barely, because of sessions and technical presentations and panels that we've been involved with, it's been hard to break away, and now I'm hoping to just go out and consume information over the rest of the day. So
there's a lot of new stuff out here, and it's not just the machines. Machines are important, but it's what happens before and after, the pre and the post processing.
Anything interesting in the post processing realm that you see on the horizon, or that you've seen folks bring to the table?
There's a number of processes out here that for surface finishing, automating, powder removal, polishing surfaces. Visited an exhibit yesterday where they specialize in hot isostatic pressing HIP, but what they're doing at this company, and forgive me, I don't recall the name, but so typically when you build a metal part, you have to do stress relief. If you don't, then the features of the part will warp when you remove the parts from the build plate, and so that's a step. But then you pull it out and then you put it in if you need to HIP the part to ensure there's no porosity in the part. Well, that's another step. Well, they've integrated the two. And they can also do other steps if you want to do heat treatment down stream of the HIP process. So all in one machine. So that too is, in my view, a step ahead, because we want to integrate and automate, streamline these steps so that we don't have so many different steps in machines.
I mean, that was another kind of interesting example that the guy from BMW brought up. I mean, you can see how they're using things like automation when you consider how to use it in regular serial production, even if customized parts. There's people are starting to develop technologies that are becoming more integrated, and it's been really interesting. I think last year a big trend was post-processing in general. I saw a lot of new organizations come to the table. So I would suggest that one way to stay engaged and one way to stay abreast of what's going on is to look at your report that you put out every year. So you have we mentioned the new 2019 report is out. You've been gracious in providing a few copies a day to folks in the crowd effectively. So a handful of folks have got it. Obviously, there's still many more here who need access to it. So can you talk just for a second about how to get how do I get my hands on one?
Well, one way to get the report is to become a member of America Makes. Then it's automatic. You get it.
It's a great.
There's a plus.
No, but it's true. It's true.
Absolutely.
And so we've done this since 2012. And so every member, depending upon the level, of course, gets one or more copies of the report. So that's one way. Some companies want 10, 50, 100, and we have repeat customers year to year that want. And so it's available at our website. It's Wohlers. Google Wohlers. Even if you misspell it, I think you'll get there.
Come up.
So and most people do.
The name's pretty recognized.
Appreciate that, John, very much for mentioning.
No, we appreciate it. I mean, we regularly see it cited, so it's still very impactful.
No,
that is for sure. And it was another interesting trend that was brought up right at the beginning. I think it was Carl Decker who mentioned it in his opening comments about the predicted trend where in 2012 of being a $5 billion market or in change in 2020. In 2018 it was already well in excess of that, and now the predictions are just going through the roof.
Well, it's interesting. Last year it was just under $10 billion, which sounds like a lot of money, but many companies are much bigger than that. And then you look at it, what's the opportunity? What's the potential of additive manufacturing in terms of products and services worldwide? So the manufacturing economy is around $12.8 trillion. And so if you were to map that 10 billion into that total, it would be a little dot. It's not 1%, it's not 0.1%, it's less than 0.1% of the entire world manufacturing economy. So, will it penetrate
lots of opportunity.
Oh, tremendous. A lot of money being spent in this.
Absolutely.
And to your point this morning, you had discussed how the gentleman from BMW mentioned how they were training their engineers differently, specifically around additive. And Terry, if I'm not mistaken, you had discussed your design for additive course. Is there any upcoming courses you might be having, or how do people find that? Is that Wohlers.com as well?
Wohlersassociates.com, In fact, we just had one 3 weeks ago with Proto Labs.
Excellent.
And that was in North Carolina at their manufacturing facility, impressive place, and that went very well. Proto Labs, it's not a secret, they had some of their best customers there. And our next one is in, is it 2 weeks? It's, I think it's 12th, 13th, or 11th, 12th in Hamburg, Germany. It's in cooperation with Zale, which is an Airbus affiliate, and then Airbus is also a sponsor, or they're supporting the event as well. And so we'll get tours, and it should be a great event. We will probably sell out that course. Then we have one, we're doing our second annual Design at Elevation course in Frisco, Colorado.
Wow.
And so we had, who was it?
Brian Schmidt, one of the engineers.
Came to the first one, which was in August. This one is in the month of September, so we're hoping the colors will cooperate for us, and we're excited about that. So we have several others that are being planned as well.
Cool, that's fantastic. Well, appreciate your time, Terry. I know
certainly, it's my pleasure.
This is your world, so this is.
It's everybody's world. It's never had so much fun. Isn't this a great? And as much technology and all this new stuff. It's all. I mean, the people too. It's like I just bumped into Larry Andre with Solidiform. He started his business in 1980, but then got into sterile lithography patterns, quick cast, to build castings for. He's got parts on the F-35, the I think he said 18, a bunch of aircraft, and so it's really cool to see people that you haven't seen in a long time that really are among the pioneers in this industry, and then a lot of young people. Somebody just told me a little bit ago where there's this company you got to go look at. He wanted to come 2 years ago, but he couldn't. He's the CEO, 16 years old. That's why he couldn't get in. He had to be 18. Now he's here as a CEO, and I mean,
that's fascinating.
It's just ripe for these startups. So young people, it's never been a better time.
That is just awesome,
isn't it?
Exciting time.
I mean, absolutely. Appreciate your time. So we're going to sign off here for now. There's a number of upcoming interviews that we're going to hold over the rest of the day, kind of closing out the final day of Rapid. So thank you very much.
John.
See y'all later. Terry, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
That's great.